I went to Rutgers University School of Law, graduated in 1979 with my Juris Doctor, joined the Justice Department as a trial attorney for 5 years, and then I went to the faculty at the University of Richmond. I'm now a full professor and tenured. I had been living in faculty housing. I located an apartment that was relatively near the law school. It sounded like the right kind of apartment in terms of satisfying my needs, and it had the right price. I called the manager, and the manager told me that I should come by and see it. The manager told me that there were 2 earlier inquiries, both students at our law school. One student I knew because he was in my class. That evening, my student called me. He had just spoken with the manager, and she asked him if I was black or white. He told her, she's black, but what difference does that make? And she told him, I don't rent to those people, those kind of people. When I received that telephone call, I had a lot of feelings. There was a sense of loss. Somehow I had lost part of myself. The only thing that seemed to be there was my skin color. So I felt like I had lost a lot. And then I felt very angry. Oh, I was very angry. I was angry at society in general, that we had not come as far as I thought we had, that she could still be there and others like her I knew were there. You see, one of the things you have to know about me is that I've never asked anybody to give me anything. I've always worked for everything that I have acquired. There have been many people along the way who have extended a hand to me and helped me here and helped me there, whether they're teachers, certainly my parents, and friends, and people I still don't know. I've still always worked and earned. And I sit on the faculty at the University of Richmond not because of the color of my skin, but because I am good. I'm more than competent. I deserve to be there. And she didn't want me to be in her apartment because of the color of my skin. She didn't care about anything that I had done. Nothing. Never had I suffered an insult of the magnitude that I suffered with housing discrimination. Never had I felt a need to bring a lawsuit because I had suffered an insult. The way I like to describe it, I sometimes use an illustration. If you could imagine a piece of paper, this piece of paper has all the information on it about you. It contains more information than a resume would because it has your very essence. It has information about you that you feel is so critical to who you are. And essentially what happened is the landlord looked at that piece of paper, and she didn't like the color of the paper, and she crumbled it up, and she threw it away. And so I spent the next 2 years unfolding, smoothing, trying my best to get the creases smoothed out so that the piece of paper would look almost like the piece of paper had looked before it had been tossed out. I'm still pressing that piece of paper. I'm still working on the creases. I know that it'll never be the same. But I had to bring the lawsuit for another reason. If she could do this to me, then she could do it to others. If someone doesn't stand up, a lot of people stand up and say, enough's enough. You cannot withhold something as vital as housing from someone just because of the color of their skin, the national origin, or whatever it might be. Then I think that we're letting down all those other people who sacrificed for us, some of them who gave up their lives. And it was such a small thing for me to do in a way. My son, Harrison Edward, is 2 years old now. I hope, as my husband does, that things will be different for him. But he is going to have to deal with racism. And he's going to have to deal with it very early. And you just have to start to build it's more than a thick skin. You have to start developing ways to respond to it. We hope that we're able to help him learn how to respond, not just absorb and be victimized by racism. I say to anybody, don't you think that discrimination is just a little thing that you can get over? No one gets over it. It is an act of violence against the dignity of the individual. And the person who's perpetrating, using the weapon, racism, against the individual, is striking you in the heart just as surely as they're using a knife or they're using a gun or anything else. The only thing is you don't see the blood, you don't see the holes, but they're there. And it makes it much tougher to explain it to somebody else because you can't see it. But this person has been harmed by it. And every time an individual is harmed by housing discrimination, so is the fabric of our society. One more blip, one more insult that the society has to somehow absorb because another member has been cut off or in some way been damaged in the society. All of us hurt. Discrimination is not a little matter. It's not just something that happens and you get over it, or it's not just something that happens and you get used to it after a while. Who should get used to being degraded? Who should have to ever get used to that?